ChatGPT is an amazing tool. I use it almost daily so that I can plan some of my lessons here at the school that I work at in Thailand. But one of the things that I've discovered that it's really useful for is helping us plan our trips. If you're not familiar with ChatGPT, ChatGPT is an AI tool. It is a great way to learn lots and lots of different things. It is a great way to make tasks a lot easier. So to help you learn and understand how to use ChatGPT to plan your trips, I've made a list of several things that you can do to help you out. So next month, my family and I are planning on going to Japan. And for that trip, I of course don't want to miss anything. So I'm using ChatGPT to help me plan that trip. The first thing that I did in planning that trip, and the first thing that you're going to want to do if you're using ChatGPT to plan your trip, is you want to set the parameters around your trip. For example, if I told ChatGPT that I was planning a trip to Japan, that would be too broad. And so I need to set up some fences to keep ChatGPT from giving me explanations that are too broad and not helpful to what I'm actually doing. So the trip that I'm going on is just to Tokyo. We don't have enough time to explore the rest of Japan. So I need to tell ChatGPT that we're going just to Tokyo. It also needs to know other things like how many people are in your trip, how many days are you going to be traveling, are there any restrictions on any of the people in your trip. For example, my wife is pregnant, and so we need to make sure that we have the right kind of diet. We need to make sure that we're not doing anything that's too strenuous on her. We also have a toddler, and so that's going to make the trip a little bit more interesting. And so ChatGPT needs to know some of those things to set the parameters for all of the information that it's going to give to you. Another thing that you can do to help set the fences that ChatGPT uses to help you plan your trip is to actually tell ChatGPT to ask you some questions to help ChatGPT better plan your trip. Now, a disclaimer when using ChatGPT is that it's only accurate up to about October of 2021. It's not actually going to have up-to-date information, but information that was true back then that is still true today. It will have some great information to give to you. The first place you may think you want to start with planning your trip would be to plan out your flights, and that's a great place to start. However, with ChatGPT, since it's not able to access current information, you're not going to want to use ChatGPT to plan your flights. Plan your flights first, and then from there, move over to ChatGPT. The place that you're going to stay, whether it's a hotel or an Airbnb, is probably the next place that you want to go to when planning your trip. ChatGPT is actually pretty great for planning this out. You can ask for specific destinations that accommodate to your specific needs. For example, with us traveling with a toddler and a pregnant wife, we're going to want to have some specific things planned out. Specific things like location and accommodation are things that we need to have in the place that we're staying at. Like I said, since ChatGPT is only accurate up to the end of 2021, you also want to check to make sure that all of the hotel recommendations that it gives you are accurate, and also check to make sure that there aren't any awesome new hotels that you're missing out on. Once I have my flight and my hotel booked, I always want to go to an itinerary. In order to plan a schedule for your trip, ChatGPT needs to know obviously the length of time and some of the things that you're going to want to do. So for example, when we're going to Japan, I've told ChatGPT that we want to explore things that are authentically Japanese, whether it's ancient Japanese culture or modern Japanese culture. That's what we want to get a taste of. Once you get your itinerary down, you'll want to work that into the trip that you actually want to take. For example, ChatGPT is probably going to throw out a few things that you might be interested in, but you'll need to tell it that you're not interested in it. So for example, it may say to go to a certain village or a certain district in Tokyo, and we may not be interested in doing that specific thing, but we may have something else in mind that it didn't list at all. And so we can simply say, hey, switch it out for this event. Something else that you can do is you can ask ChatGPT if it has any other recommendations for places that it may not have suggested yet for you to go to that maybe you haven't thought about yet that's popular for other tourists who are going to the same destination as you. One thing that Abby and I love to do is we love to find awesome coffee shops wherever we go. And so I always ask ChatGPT when we're going to a new place, where are some awesome third wave coffee shops that we can explore in the region? So let's take a look and see what ChatGPT has already planned for our trip itinerary so far. So the first thing that I did was I told ChatGPT that we wanted to limit the parameters of what we're looking at. So our trip is not going to be all of Japan, we're just going to Tokyo. I also told it that my pregnant wife and toddler son will be a part of the trip as well, so that needs to be taken into consideration. We will be traveling from Saturday to Saturday, and we already have plans to go to Disneyland on Wednesday. And so then I told it to ask me some questions to help ChatGPT plan the best trip itinerary possible. So some things that it asked about were travel dates, wanting to know specifically which Saturday to which Saturday in the year, and so I told it the end of October. It wanted to know if I already had accommodation or if it needed to think through that as well. It asked about arrival and departure times. It asked about pregnancy consideration, toddler-friendly activities, food preferences, and I love that it thinks through all of these things. So it even questions like, is there anyone in your family who has any allergies or anything like that it needs to think through as well. It actually does really well when you phrase the questions this way and you tell ChatGPT to ask you some questions to help it plan the best trip for you. It's kind of like asking ChatGPT to help set the parameters. It asked about any specific interests that we had, and I told it basically exactly what we want from our trip. We love to experience things that are authentically from that culture. Like, we're not traveling to experience more of our everyday life. Like, we want to experience what everyday life is like in that country. And so we want to experience the things that are authentically Tokyo, whether that's old Tokyo or if it's modern Tokyo. We want to experience all of that. It has thought through a lot of different things here, and then I answered all of those different questions that it had, and then it created this itinerary here for me. So it gave us specific things to do each day with a lot of flexibility between each of those days. Now, this plan that it gave us was initially pretty great, but there were a few things that I thought through that I wanted after it had already planned this trip for me. So I told it I would also like to go to Team Lab Planets and the Meiji Jingu Shrine. And so I asked, can you fit those in and plan some other things to do around them so that we're not traveling a lot during that day? And so it created a brand new itinerary, pretty similar to the old one, but it added in some of those new things that I told it that I wanted it to add. One of the things that I love about ChatGPT is that you're actually able to talk to it as if it's a real person, and it responds as if it's a real person. It's really cool to use. The next thing that I told it was that we will be staying in the Asakusa district, and my wife and I love authentic, unique coffee shops. Are there any that you can recommend? And so it gave me several different coffee shops along with the address of the coffee shop and why it's something that would be unique for us to go and visit. If you've never used ChatGPT before, you definitely want to go on there and play with it a little bit. Just have some conversations with it, do some research, just learn how to use the program. It's a really, really awesome tool. Some other cool features that it has is that it will automatically save all of the conversations that you have with it. So if you plan this trip itinerary, it'll title the conversation Trip Itinerary. And then in the future, you could come back to that exact same conversation. If you're planning this trip with someone else who is helping plan the trip, you can actually share the conversation as well. So they will have access to the answers that ChatGPT gave to you. And as I said before, double check to make sure that the information that it's giving you is up to date. You don't want to be planning on going somewhere when there is something that is actually closed, that closed down over the past few years, or you don't want to miss out on something that is brand new that has opened up over the past few years either. It's not a perfect program, but it is a really great tool to help you plan your trips. I hope that this video has been useful for you. Like and subscribe to see more travel tips like this and to see more travel vlogs coming up in the future. Can't wait to see you in Tokyo, and we hope that you'll join us on our adventure.